You can be seated. Thank you very much. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Porter, any closing argument on behalf of the state?
Thank you. Yesterday, in the final witness called by the state, Dr. Stauffenberg talked about the features of starvation and the sequence of starvation. The first phase is there's a loss of well-being, hunger pangs, and food cravings. The second stage is apathy and fatigue, then weight loss. Pigmentation changes in the skin. Cachexia, I believe is how she pronounced it, but it's a skull-like skin over the skull look to the face, a feral look. Hypothermia, extreme lethargy and mental retardation, nutritional edema and immune suppression, infection, diarrhea, and death. In order for you to consider the death penalty in this case, you're going to have to find that the murder of Amani Moss, that you have convicted this defendant of, the malice murder of Amani Moss, was outrageously or wantonly vile, horrible or inhuman, in that it involved torture or depravity of the mind. The judge is going to tell you that torture occurs when a living person is subjected to the unnecessary and wanton infliction of severe physical or mental pain or anguish. It includes also the serious psychological abuse of the victim. Depravity of mind refers to an utterly corrupt, perverted, or immoral state of mind. And in determining whether this defendant acted with depravity of mind, you may consider the age and physical characteristics of the victim, and you may consider the actions of the defendant prior to and after the commission of the murder. That's in order to find the aggravating circumstance. And ladies and gentlemen, I would submit to you that in considering the verdict you have just reached, of all the charges on the indictment, you can make no other finding than that this murder is outrageously or wantonly vile, horrible or inhuman, involving torture and depravity of the mind. And once you have made that finding, it will be up to you to consider what is the appropriate punishment for someone who commits a murder in that way. The options that you will have are life with the possibility of parole, which the judge will define for you as a person spends the rest of their natural life in prison but has a possibility of early release, which is done by a governmental body outside this courtroom. You also have the option of life with the possibility of parole, without the possibility of parole, which means that person will spend the rest of their life incarcerated and will never have the opportunity of release. And then finally, you have the option of death, which the person will be executed by lethal injection in accordance with law. And I want to talk to you about each one of those options. Now, of course, the state in this case is recommending to you that she receive the death penalty. And there's a lot of talk about the death penalty. There's a lot of considerations for the death penalty, and there's a lot of reasons that people give for the death penalty. There's the idea of retribution or vengeance, that if you take a life, you pay for it with your life. There's the idea of deterrence, that if people knew they were going to get the death penalty for committing a crime like this, then maybe they wouldn't. I don't know how you measure deterrence. I don't know how many people have woken up in the middle of the night and rolled over and looked at their partner and said, if it wasn't for the death penalty, you'd be dead right now. But that we'll never know that. And that's why I reject those two reasons as a reason for you to consider the death penalty. Our criminal justice system is based on an idea that you have to pay. You have to submit to the law depending on what crime you commit. In other words, our criminal justice system is defined and decided by the idea of the punishment fitting the crime. A parking ticket may cost you $10. A speeding ticket may cost you more. A burglary is probably going to cost you some years. But there are some crimes that are so horrible, that are so heinous. The only balance you can pay is with your life. And that's what I mean by justice demands the proper payment. Justice demands the proper sentence. Justice demands that the sentence fit the crime. Now, some of you may be thinking, well, I'm going to consider life with parole. I'm going to consider that this defendant should go to prison for the rest of her life and that she should have a chance for release. When you think about that, let me ask you to consider this. Do you think she's going to change? Do you think she's going to rehabilitate? The answer to that is no. She's shown you too much of herself. She's shown you too much of the evil that is in her. She's shown you too much of her capacity for cruelty for you to believe that she is going to somehow change and become a productive citizen. Because there will always be that dark side waiting to come out. Now, a lot of people like you and me think that if I was put in prison for the rest of my life and never able to be released out, that would be worse than the death penalty. Because I'd have to sit there every day and suffer and think about what I did. But that's you and me. She's not wired that way. She doesn't have that conscience. And the reason I can say that with such confidence is the nature of the crime. Who in the world conceives of and executes a plan to starve a 10-year-old child to death? Think about that. Think about what Dr. Stauffenberg said the other day. She said that in adult volunteers of hunger-striking inmates, that they would last 50 to 80 days. Now think about that. I weigh 160 pounds. I'm about an average-sized guy. Some people will even tell you I'm a little on the small side. But she started out at 60 pounds. How much faster does she lose weight? How much faster does she get to critical mass? How much faster does she reach that fatal threshold from which there is no coming back? So what this defendant has really done is she has woken up every day since September of 2013, when they moved into the apartment, and she's decided, I'm going to kill that baby today. And she carried it out every day. And then she woke up the next day, and she said, I'm going to kill that baby today. I'm going to take care of my kids. I'm going to take care of my house. I'm going to make sure there's food in the house. But I'm going to kill that baby today. I'm going to kill Imani today. For 60 days. So like Ms. Jones said in her closing argument, it wasn't a barroom fight, or it wasn't even an angry one time. It was a cold, calculated, every day you wake up and you go, I'm going to kill her today. And ladies and gentlemen, she's not going to think about that. She's not going to suffer for that, because it didn't bother her for 60 days. She did it every day, without a qualm, without a second thought. So do you think she's going to go into a life without parole sentence and think about it? She's not. She's going to think about what she has for dinner tonight. She's going to think about what's on television tonight. She's going to think about how much time she has in the yard. She's not going to ever think about this child again. The only thing that Tiffany Moss cares about is protecting her own life. Now, there's another person charged in this crime. That's Iman. Iman came in. He pled guilty. He's serving a sentence with life without parole. He volunteered to testify, and he came in here and he testified. Is Iman a hero? No. Ms. Jones said it exactly right. He's not. He's a murderer. He was part of this. But his part was neglect. Her part was intentional. You found that by your verdict. You found that she acted with malice aforethought, which means the intent to unlawfully kill another human being. And when you really look at it, do you really think that fool, Iman, could have come up with this plan? Do you really think he was the brains of the outfit? No, he wasn't. He was seduced and enamored and under the influence of this defendant to the extent that he was willing to turn his eyes away from his own child. And he was willing to go along with this horrendous scheme to dispose of that baby so that he could, what, save the family? Protect his wife? Protect his two other children? Iman is exactly where he needs to be, serving exactly the sentence he needs to serve for the part that he played in this. And that's another reason why Tiffany Moss needs a sentence from you that is exactly the sentence she needs to serve. Because she drove this. She drove it every day. She decided Imani was going to die. She decided how it was going to happen, and she made it happen. And that is why I believe that this case does call for justice. This case does call for a sentence that speaks the truth as to punishment. And I'm not going to say it's easy. None of it's going to be easy. But sometimes doing the right thing isn't the easy thing. Sometimes doing what we have to do is our obligation. I don't envy you with the job you have to do now. But I'm confident in you. I believe in you. I believe that you will reach the verdict as to punishment that speaks the truth in this case. And that is to reject the option of life with the possibility of parole, and to reject the option of life without the possibility of parole. and sentence Tiffany Moss to death. Thank you. The judge will charge you, and then you'll go to your deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Moss, your closing argument when you're ready, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am.